Hola everyone, hello and welcome to House of Light. For those of you that have seen me before, I'm Sally, I help out at House of Light, and this is Cathy Birdsong, who's our guest today. And she's one of House of Light's retreat leaders and hosts, and she's going to be talking about her journey. So welcome, Cathy.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
It's lovely to finally meet you after all the messages and the backwards and forwards. It's great to welcome you here.
Thanks very much. It's such a lovely place to be.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And we had a lovely time just wandering around the gardens trying to find the perfect place for this live stream. So we've got the yurts in the background and a lovely old olive tree, and we've got the mountains behind us here in the Alpujarras. So I hope you enjoy the whole environment as well as our conversation and our chats today. So we know that Facebook has a bit of a lag, so we're just going to give everyone a chance to join before we dive into the conversations. And do come and say hello to us. Do come and comment and say hello. Cathy's open for questions.
Please feel free to ask anything.
Yeah. So do come and say hello, and we've got a couple of people watching already. So welcome and thank you for joining us. So how first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, Cathy, so that as people start to join, they can just get a sense of who you are and, you know, what light you're bringing to the world.
I've been a seeker all my life, and really from early childhood now when I look back. And that's taken me through many different journeys and modalities, learning lots of different spiritual techniques. And I feel, looking back on my 60 plus years, that...
Never.
Thank you. I wasn't fishing, honestly.
I got the cue.
Yeah, it really has. All my life experiences have brought me here. I have a sort of a long relationship with Spain, and I'm really glad to now be able to deepen it.
You're from the UK originally, but
That's
you're
right. Yeah.
living here in Spain now.
Yeah. I was born and brought up in Surrey, south of London.
Quite different to here.
Yeah, and I left home when I went to travel in my gap year and spent some months in Spain, and then went to university, studied drama. So I did that at Bristol. I love Bristol. I have a great relationship with Bristol, and I've travelled around the world, lived in various different places, taught yoga, done healing work, and I ended up, before coming to Spain, I ended up in Brighton. So I know a fair few people in Orkiva are from Brighton or have contacts with Brighton.
Surprising, isn't it? Yeah. We were saying earlier, I lived in Brighton in the 90s, and when I came out here, I was surprised how many people are actually from here, which is, I don't know, it's the energy or the...
I think.
Yes.
Yeah, because I went to Brighton because I knew that as a yoga teacher, healer, I would definitely find a lot of like-minded people, and that's pretty much why I've ended in Orkiva, although Andalusia has been calling me for many years.
It's a beautiful area, isn't it?
It is. It's stunning, and right here, you know, you've got the mountains, you've got the garden. It's a lovely centre, a really beautiful place. Yeah.
So I just want to say hello to Margaret. Hi, Margaret. Thank you for joining us, and Michelle is here as well, and
hi,
Malfred too, and Brent. So welcome to the live stream. Do feel free to share this with your friends or grab a cuppa while we start diving into the deep stuff, the good stuff. So you were mentioning when we were chatting earlier about the connection with your sister. Tell us a little bit about how that started in your childhood and what it's brought through for you now.
So my sister Lizzie, she was about 4 years old. She is 4 years older than me. We had a very lovely connection from right from my earliest memories, and I think it's possibly because she was more of a mother to me than my mother. We used to play often when we went to bed at night. I can remember as early as age 7 or 8, we used to play around with telepathy. It was like a game we played. And she was usually the transmitter and I was usually the receiver. And we used to, she would say, what am I thinking of? Now, you might say when I told my sister what she was thinking of that she was just agreeing. My sister is one of the most honest people with the most integrity I have ever come across. And I never for a moment doubted as a child that everything she said was true. So we honed those skills and we had lots of experiences when we were apart where I would know that she was in trouble or something had happened and I would contact her. So looking back, I'd say that was my earliest experience of the fourth dimension, which I very naturally felt comfortable in, you know, relying on what was just coming to me in my awareness. And then the other thing I'd like to mention about my childhood, when I was avoiding my parents, which was quite often, I would climb this beautiful silver birch tree in the garden. We actually had a 3-story house and the tree was taller than the house, which was very unusual for a silver birch tree. Yeah. And I could actually get right to the top with a foot in each of the 2 top forks of the tree. And that tree, it became my refuge, my castle, my horse, my
friend,
everything.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I loved it. I could climb it in my sleep. I knew every branch.
Oh, that's gorgeous, though.
Yeah. And if you visit my website, you'll see there's a picture of 2 beautiful silver birch trees. And, you know, my love of trees, I feel very comfortable here with all these lovely old olives. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, was my earliest shamanic journeying, because I just created these worlds.
Yes, yeah.
And, it was my imagination, but I would really take off. And obviously it was helping me to heal, because I didn't feel so comfortable always.
Yes, in the human family environment.
Exactly.
Isn't it amazing how nature provides that consolation and that reassurance and support without us really even realising? We naturally gravitate to go and sit on the grass or climb a tree or listen to the birds song, and I think it's so innate in so many of us, and yet it's been dulled out of, especially the generations coming through now. They don't have that. Well, I won't generalise that much, but I think it's really beautiful that you've brought that from your childhood and it's now incorporated in your work.
Yeah, and I try to bring nature in wherever possible in the workshops and the training I do. Yeah.
You also mentioned about, as a teenager, you really started exploring astrology, palmistry and tarot, and I had to sort of like stop myself from going, there we go, have a look. Was it just like curiosity, or were you looking deeper into it, or did you not really know what you were doing with it, but it was just something to play with?
Yeah, I knew I was looking for something, and I was very consciously looking for something that would fill the hole that being brought up very strictly as a Catholic had already created in me. I remember at the age of 9 being in church and using all the terrible swear words I could think of to swear at the effigies. I mean, that was like bum and bloody, and I think that was about all
tame.
And there were reasons why I had that energy, because I had a wounding, a traumatic childhood experience with a member not of the family, a friend of the family. And I was seeking something to fill that hole. Yes. And so that's why I started to look into all these alternative or complementary therapies and modalities. I actually taught myself to read horoscopes, which I've completely forgotten. I think the last one I did was my early 20s. And I got very involved with the tarot and a little bit with white witchcraft. It was actually a Spanish friend who introduced me to that, and also introduced me to Andalusia, by the way. And then I read the books of Carlos Castaneda, which I think some of the younger people who are listening may not have heard of Carlos Castaneda. He was an American who wrote about his trips into the shamanic realm and the people that he met and the experiences he had. And he wrote a number of books, which you can obviously still read now. And that was my introduction to shamanism. And it took me a long time. I came full circle and came back to shamanism in the last, probably the last 10 years, I would say. So we have a cat.
We have a visitor
us.
just as we start talking about shamanism.
Yeah, black cat.
Hello.
Perfect.
Were you the one that photobombed Kerry on the roof yesterday during yoga?
Yeah. Yes, so just.
And what about yoga? When did yoga come into your life?
I have a school friend to thank for that, because she became a yoga teacher when she left school. And when I went to stay with her, I would always join in her classes.
Yeah.
And she was an Iyengar teacher. She still is. She's very much up in the Iyengar world there.
Microphone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Microphone.
Microphone.
Cat's putting a little bit of trickery in here. And I'm caught.
Oh, you're caught.
Well, she's caught. Whoa.
We're all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, you'll have to remind me where I got to.
Yoga.
Yeah.
I was at yoga. Cat-infused yoga.
So anyway, I started helping her out. She had a child very early in her marriage, and I used to join her classes, and she'd be wanting to feed the baby or change a nappy, and she'd say, "Oh, Cathy, please take the next posture." And that's how I became a yoga teacher. So I would have been, I guess, 18, 19 when I was introduced to it. And by the time I was in my early 20s, I was teaching yoga on a regular basis. And of course, I'd been introduced to Iyengar. So eventually, my friend Roz, thank you, Roz, for all you've taught me. She said, "Isn't it about time you took you got your certificate to teach yoga?"
Yes.
In those days, many people taught yoga without certificates.
Yes.
So I did an Iyengar training, incredibly thorough, and I owe so much to Iyengar.
Yeah.
He was a fabulous teacher, particularly wonderful at alignment, grounding alignment, and the flow of energy. And then over the years, I found it a little bit rigid and strong for me. And then I met someone who had worked with Vanda Scaravelli, which I always see, because she worked with Iyengar too, but I see her yoga very much as feminizing, softening, making more gentle, therefore much more in tune with me and what I wanted. And fabulous teacher.
Quick question about the Iyengar, because I used to do Ashtanga, and now it's Vinyasa for me. The Iyengar, I can't even say it.
It's okay.
That one.
Yeah.
That is where you hold the asanas for longer, is it?
Yes. I mean, Iyengar used to say, ideally, you hold for at least 7 seconds.
Yeah.
This was part of the rigidity of the way it was taught and expressed.
Yes.
Maybe he never said that, but his teachers often
did.
He was very, very thorough on how you placed your feet, how far apart they were. But actually, what was behind that was an incredible knowledge of the body.
Yeah.
I saw him working in remedial classes, and he would just watch someone from across the ashram, and if there was something wrong, he'd know, and he'd be over there and helping them get into a posture. So very thorough grounding. You hold the postures for longer. The postures are pretty much what you go through in Ashtanga flow or any of those flowing sequences. And now with the Scaravelli and with my healing experience, what I do is I bring in the chakras, the energy, the various dimensions that we're feeling into, so that anything can come up and you can address anything in the yoga work. It's a lot slower, and it's very much geared towards self-healing. People come to really work on whatever their issues are.
Yeah. We've got Elaine. Hi, Elaine. Thanks for joining us. She's asking, which type of yoga would you recommend for osteoarthritis?
Well, the simplest answer is your yoga. What your body tells you feels good, and what your body says, I like that. Maybe you can push me a little bit in this direction, but not too far. And I would definitely start with something a bit softer, possibly if you find a Scaravelli inspired teacher, or a yin type yoga, but I wouldn't encourage holding postures for too long. And learning to listen to your body and really feel into any areas that might be causing you problems, or what we call the issues in the tissues. So that's what you're addressing, and that is an expression of, you know, whatever's happened in your entire lifetime. So yeah, find a gentle teacher, someone who does maybe yin yoga or yoga with meditation or healing yoga, or or remedial yoga, and then really listen to your own body.
Yeah, I think, you know, from my point of view, having been a real tough yogi, now my body's moving through its shifts and its transformations. My body doesn't do what it used to do. So I still go to a really strong class, but I adjust it for what feels right for me. And I think having an awareness of your body is really, really powerful as well, because you get to know yourself and then you can really connect. But yes, I liked what you said there about your yoga. So the label of a class, you know, can be adapted to what feels good within your body.
Yeah. I mean, even Iyengar said, your best teacher is yourself, your own body. The second best teacher, he said, was a wall. And the third teacher would be the teacher you go to.
Oh, wonderful. That's Elaine saying thank you. Thanks for the question, Elaine.
Thanks, Elaine.
And hello to the other Elaine Benson. Lovely to have you here on the live, Elaine.
Hi. Nice to see some people I know.
Yes. So, moving on from the yoga, that took you through healing, through deeper connection with yourself, and then you started into the journey of energy healing through starting with Reiki.
That's right. Actually, I had studied in my early 20s Bach flower remedies. So I had already been using those for some years. And then with the yoga, I realized that what I was passionate about was basically helping people to feel well, to feel good in themselves, and helping them to help themselves. I realized I'd come to that point. Then I went to a wonderful Reiki practitioner. I didn't know she was Reiki. I went for shiatsu and for, you know, healing myself. And afterwards I said to her, what were you doing when you were holding my feet? And she said, I was doing Reiki then. And I said, wow, that was amazing. So she was a Reiki master, so I did Reiki 1 and 2 with her, and that was in the early 90s. And then I felt that I wanted to take it further. I'm always, you know, I'm a real sort of seeker and passionate about finding things out. And I heard about the Barbara Brennan course. A friend of mine was signing up to do the Barbara Brennan course. And she's someone who comes from a scientific healing background, where she started out as a physicist with NASA. And she used to analyze and look at the energy out there, atmospheric physics. And when I won't go into the story, you can read that in her book, Hands of Light. But when she finally ended up being a healer, what she realized she was doing was applying all the scientific techniques she knew about analyzing the atmosphere into the energies of the body. Very, very psychic, amazing woman. I was very privileged to have her teach some of the classes in the first 2 years of the 4-year Barbara Brennan course. And I did that in Austria.
Wow, lovely.
5 weeks of each year, a lot of healing in between. Guinea pigs, we weren't allowed to charge for healing while we were doing that. And culminating in me getting the Barbara Brennan certificate, and it's fabulous training, and I'm so grateful that I discovered that. Yeah,
when you said Barbara Brennan, you know, I realised, you know, I've got that book. and it's one of the things that I did bring with me from Scotland to Spain.
Right.
It was like, I'm not leaving that behind.
Well, me too. I've got hardly anything else, but I've got her 3 books. Yeah.
And what about You were talking about the Hara and the fifth dimension.
Yes, so through the Brennan training, I learnt about Hara, which of course is a Japanese term, and that is essentially about coming into your center. And there's no emotion in that place. You know, when you align your Hara and all your chakras are spinning and your whole energy field, your auric field, that's the fourth dimension, your third dimension aspects, you know, your body, everything is in line. And once you come into Hara, that's like pure intention, or that place where what feels like nothing but everything all at once. It's almost like a black hole where there's the potential for absolutely anything to happen. And that, of course, is very much what I feel, and many other people, I think, yourself too, Sally, feel is where humanity is progressing towards, and what we're being shifted into in these somewhat challenging times.
We're getting there.
Yeah. And then, of course, moving on from the Brennan healing, I ended up doing the shamanic, walking the shaman's path with my shamanic teacher, Patricia White Buffalo. And she was then teaching in a number of places around the world. And I did her course, started it in London and finished it in a beautiful place in France, lovely retreat centre in Montreal. Outside in the mountains. And
the mountains seem to call you, don't they?
They are, always. I used to go to Scotland as a child.
Did you?
Yeah, we used to spend family holidays, and literally I'd be watching as we drove up. It wasn't the motorway then, it was the A1. And I'd be watching for the mountains.
Waiting for them.
I just love mountains. And when we left, I'd be, peering out the back window of the car. So yes, I do love mountains. And and the shamanic training, of course, like the Brennan training, it teaches you a lot about the astral field, the fourth dimension, which you enter through the heart, and about the fifth dimension in Hara and the place of intention, and where you actually, as I've experienced and we were discussing earlier, you find when you're in that Haric awareness in a healing mode, you start to channel, you're not consciously thinking, oh, now I'm going to do this, now I should do that, I should bring this in. It just happens automatically. And that's when I feel the healing really, really works, when we open to the fifth dimension.
So you've got huge experience in in really different areas within the healing world, and if you want to call it like spiritual development and growth. What was there, like a turning point where you thought, right, I'm ready now to bring through this as my way of working that's going to help people? And because your work helps people connect with their wounds and heal their wounds, doesn't it? Because a lot of the time we don't even know we've got a wound until we're like triggered or something's happened.
Yeah.
But how did all of that sort of come together for you to start sharing in your own way, as it were?
Honestly, it's been a constant throughout my life, because as a child I can remember talking to friends and saying, oh, why don't you do this? I'd really put myself into people's shoes, try to feel what they were telling me and try to give what I thought was good advice. And I do have my parents to thank for this, because they were teachers. My father was a headmaster. My mother was a deputy headmistress, and I remember growing up swearing I was never ever going to be a teacher. Well,
and here you are.
So it's
slightly different way.
It's in the blood. So every stage when I learned things and applied them to my own daily experience, day-to-day experience, I found myself wanting to share them with others. And of course it happened through the Reiki, through the yoga teaching, and then after doing the Brennan course, I started to do healing, one-to-one healing with people, and then with the shamanic course, putting it all together in workshops, classes, courses, and retreats. And I have run yoga retreats, various places that I've lived around the world. And now I bring it all together in, my latest retreat, which I hope to do in this beautiful place later in the year, if possible, is called Journey into the Light. And it is about understanding our dimensional being, being aware, becoming aware of the wounds and healing them and releasing those energies, and then being open to receive the light and to reach our higher selves, if you like.
And that residential retreat is going to be later. It's going to be in the future because of the situation at the moment.
Exactly.
But you are going to be sharing something quite special in a couple of weeks, aren't you, here in the area?
Yeah, that's right. So for anyone who's interested, a lot of what I've spoken about will be included in this 3-day non-residential retreat, and it's going to be fully catered. And it is going to be quite long days, probably 8 till 8, so 3 meals.
Yes.
Breakfast, lunch and dinner, which obviously there's a payment. So I'm offering this at cost price because I am really passionate about getting my messages out there. And the combination of all the things that I've spoken about to Sally, all the things I offer, I try to make it as practical as possible and really bring it down to what can you do in the moment on a day-to-day basis. So it's like you have a toolbox, and hopefully during this retreat you're going to learn lots of different tools. Some of them you may well know. Doesn't matter what you come with, what you bring, we will all find that we'll learn from each other.
Yes,
and I hope at the end of that 3 days you'll have a bigger toolbox, and you'll just find that in some of those moments day to day when you just need something to help you, to lift you out of whatever's dragging you down, that you go, oh yeah, I remember, open my eyes and just let the light in. Appreciate the things I see around me. Take a deep breath and breathe in if you see a beautiful little flower or you hear the birds singing, which they are.
Yeah.
Breathe it in, really nourish yourselves with that. Feel your feet on the ground. If someone's kind of knocked you out of your center, really come back to feeling your feet on the ground. And these are all things that we'll experience during that 3-day retreat in a number of different ways.
It sounds lovely. So that's open to people that live in the area, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think you were saying that people just get directly in touch with Cathy.
Yeah, and I'll let you know where it is and all the details, how to book and how to get there and so on.
Sounds amazing. Thank you for bringing it to the Alpujarras.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure, really.
So is there anything else that you'd like to share that you think people would like to hear, or a little story you want to share?
I think I'd like to share about my sister and her healing journey, because it also gives you a little bit more information about my healing, what I do. So my sister was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer about 8 or 9 years ago. And I remember when she told me, she said, I'm going to beat this. And I said, yeah, and I'm going to help you, and I'll help you put a team together, because she was going for a very heavy duty chemo because she was a very healthy person. She'd ate really well most of her life, didn't smoke, didn't drink much at all. She'd been climbing mountains in the Alps that summer before she was diagnosed, and they didn't diagnose until they thought it was too late, partly because she was such a healthy person. So we put together a team. I couldn't be her Brennan healer because... Sorry, I'm touching the mic. Okay. I couldn't be her Brennan healer because I was too close to what was going on. And a very good friend of mine was the Brennan healer, another wonderful person who did a sort of guided meditation. She had a homeopath that she'd already been going to, another wonderful woman who did bioresonance therapy, and the chemotherapy, which we all agreed was going to buy her time. Anyway, long story short, she healed. She's written a book about it. She's in spontaneous remission, and it's stayed that way. She's written a book about it called Shout It From the Rooftops, and if you want to get it, you can get it on Amazon.
Good title.
Her name is Lizzie Emery, so Shout It From the Rooftops, a terminal cancer healing. And through that book, and also through my own healing work, I did start to work with quite a few clients with cancer. And it's been an amazing journey for me, experiencing working. Often I'm working alongside any chemotherapy treatments that they're having. So it's complementary healing, very much complementary, not alternative. And it's fabulous to experience. I mean, I've been doing some sessions with people while they're having the chemotherapy put into them, and working to enhance the benefits of the chemo and to try and take away as much as possible of the side effects, so detoxing. And so far the results have been brilliant. So that's one of the issues that I work with, but I work with many different issues when I do healing, and I combine Reiki, Barbara Brennan healing, shamanic healing. It's the whole gamut.
It's no longer like in the old days of healing. It was very much, you trained as a Reiki master, and that was all you did, because that was the one thing, wasn't it? But now I'm finding that a lot of people that I know in the spiritual world and healing, they're bringing everything in, and we're losing that structure that told us how to heal, or how to heal the right way. And I love the fact that so many of us are now just listening not only to our own intuition, but really listening to what that other person needs and what their body's saying and what their energy's saying. And it really is a matter of everything working together.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful. It's really beautiful to hear you're doing that work.
Yeah, and that's just instinctive and my nature. I mean, I am a person who, as I say, I've always been a seeker. I like to take in lots of different things. I think it's partly because I'm a triple Sagittarius, very fiery, and I love to talk and tell people and teach and preach. And that's also, by the way, probably one reason why I've ended up in Spain, because my astrologer friend told me that Sagittarius is the ruler of Spain. So as a triple Sagittarius, I had to end up here.
And these mountains are fiery. The energy here is strong. So you've definitely been called in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely been called in.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to say hello to Siobhan. Thank you for joining us, Siobhan. And Susan. Susan's one of my dear friends in Rio de Janeiro.
Hello.
So thank you for joining us, Susan. And Michelle, I think you've been here the whole way. Thank you. Okay. So it's been really lovely to chat.
It's been great to chat with
really
you,
lovely
Sally.
to chat. Thank you for coming over and for sharing your experiences and for helping us show off the House of Light Gardens. And again, if anyone's interested in joining Cathy for her 3-day non-residential retreat that's going to be held here in the area in a couple of weeks' time, just please get in touch with Cathy directly. What's your website, Cathy?
It's www.cathybirdsong.com.
And you're on Facebook as well?
I'm on Facebook. It's just my personal
page,
Facebook,
okay.
but they're very welcome to look at that. I think you might have to put Cathy Stanton in for that, which is my legal surname.
Okay, so website it is then.
Yeah,
Keep
I
it
think
simple.
so. Yeah.
And if all else fails, get in touch with us at House of Light and we'll put you in touch with Cathy. No problem at all.
I can also give my email address.
Oh, go for it, yes.
Which is quite easy to remember if you can remember the name. It's Cathcrick, CATHCRICK @gmail.com. So if you want to find out any more about the healing work, I occasionally teach yoga and the courses and the retreats that hopefully I'll be running more and more of now I'm here. Then please do get in touch. And thank you so much for joining. It's really been
lovely.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Cathy, and thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you all again soon at House of Light. Lots of love to you all.
Lots of love. Thank you.